Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanato. Today I'll be talking to Dee Rowell, Ambassador for Les Mills International. Have the goal, but focus on the journey. Immerse yourself in the industry, do the work and stay on your path. Learn as much as you can and be here now. These are just a few of the tips from Dee. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy the show. Dee, welcome to the Group X podcast. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for saying yes.
To be here and, virtually and talk to you.
Yeah. Hey, let's just get straight in, and I'm sure that I know that my listeners are excited as what I am to get to know you and have a chat to you. So tell us, how did you get into the fitness industry? Where did your journey start?
I guess it was kind of like it's been a long journey. I know I'm not super old. I don't know, I'm in my 30s, but it did start when I was quite young. So I have listened to a lot of your podcasts, Tony, and the running theme seems to be that a lot of the trainers, presenters, started out with school sport.
Yep.
That really got them into the fitness industry. And I'm much the same. Like I went to an all-girls school that was very heavily focused on sport. And I'm a terrible like ball sport person. Can't catch a ball to save my life, but was really into dancing, gymnastics, swimming, athletics, kind of, I guess, individual sports. And that was a really big focus of my childhood. And I think when you leave school, like that all stops. So you really have like, it's so strange. Like you have all this community kind of sport, and like such a big like part of your life, like moving and fitness, I guess. And then that all stops and it's really bizarre. So I think that's kind of what landed me in the gym. But in saying that, my mum and my dad actually used to be really into Les Mills classes.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up. I remember when I was like 8, 9 years old, my mum would do a Saturday morning body step class, like religiously, at a gym called Workout in Drapilli that's still open and still amazing.
Yeah.
With the kind of like the children of the original owners kind of running that now and stuff. So I would come along while she did her Saturday morning body step class, and I would kind of sit up the back and just watch her because I was 8 or 9. And then eventually I was like, please let me do it. So I'd be back on the very back, just a riser, moving around, trying to do this step class. So I think that was actually my first introduction. Really,
that's awesome.
And then my older sister, who's a few years older than me, she actually trained to be I think she did her attack, combat and body pump training and taught that for a while. So she did that like in her like early 20s. So I was still in school, but I would go to classes after school as well. So leaving school, like I was still very familiar with Les Mills. And I say Les Mills, not group fitness, because at that time it was very just like Les Mills dominated the group fitness. There wasn't much freestyle anymore or anything. Like if you're going to go do group fitness at a gym, it would be Les Mills. So I wasn't like unfamiliar with it. So when I left school, I kind of like really leaned on that, I think, to but like the fitness outlet, I guess, the community as well. So that was kind of my journey into how
I love that. That's weirdly enough, when I look back on where I began, Mum used to go and do freestyle aerobic stuff in the church hall, and I'm talking this was probably around the same age, between 8 to 10 years of age. But I didn't progress with any of that, weirdly enough, until I was in my early 20s is when I found the gym. That was what Mum had done. Mum had played squash and all that kind of stuff, but I played tennis when I was younger, but never really got into the gym until I was, let's say, probably 19, 20, that I walked
Yeah.
in, and it was the gym floor first of all. It was that whole
Yeah.
I'm a bloke, not going in that room over there.
Not
Like
gonna
what?
step into that
Yeah, what's
room.
that? No, not wearing. What's that leotard stuff on the outside? Not doing any of that.
Yeah.
And so it was yeah, cool. Let's go and lift weights and stuff. And it wasn't until moving to Sydney that I found group exercise, and I found the studio, and it was like, wow, that's really motivating. I can actually get in there, and there's people, there's a group, there's wow, okay. Instead of what I found was I was struggling to motivate myself in a gym environment going in to lift weights because it was just
Yeah.
there, it was with my mate, and if he didn't rock up, then I was like, oh yeah, okay, 3
Yeah.
sets of 12, yeah, righto, bugger off, I'm done.
Yeah.
Walking in and finding that group exercise space was amazing because I just had to follow what was being done.
Yeah.
It was, there was that motivation, and that push was already there. I like that though, but that started from you, really from, as you said, being in workout in Drapilli at the back of the room and seeing what was actually going on, even though it wasn't from that straight in, hey, I'm going to go and teach. It had been sort of put into your psyche, so to say, from a young age, where I think most of us that are in the industry now, it's been part of in some way. It sort of has been right
It
there
really
from the roots.
really has been a part of my like childhood and
Yeah.
like young adulthood to now. Like,
Yeah.
I've always known what Les Mills is.
Yeah. So how
Which is
did you
cool.
go from that to teaching? How did that happen? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so so leaving school, I was just like a group fitness fanatic. Like I was just doing classes like morning, night, lunchtime, like just crazy.
Yep.
Every class I could do, I did, and I absolutely loved it. And then I think it just got to the point where I was like, you know, I love doing these classes, and maybe I can take this further. And leaving school, I definitely I kind of struggled with what I wanted to do. I think I had a bit of a moment where I didn't want to grow up almost.
I'm still waiting to grow up. I shouldn't say that.
Like it was a bit of like I'm not ready to grow up,
Yep.
and then it was a bit of like shit, like.
Yep.
So I really struggled out of school until I was, I'd say like 22 at least. And I went through a really hard time with depression and anxiety. And so group fitness was kind of like my constant. It was something that just kept me going.
Yeah.
And a big part of that was like the classes that I was going to. There was probably, I'd say, 3 pivotal women that would take those classes. And they were huge in kind of like, they were just so inspiring to me. Um, I get teary thinking about it because they were just like, I'd look at them and they were just so inspiring to me.
Yep.
And I think I leaned on those classes so much because I just needed that connection with someone. It got to the point where I was doing so many classes and, just loving it. Front row, one of those, front rowers,
I love it.
5 a.m., blah, blah, blah. That I was just like, why don't I try and do this?
Yeah.
But I don't think I went off.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I know I can see how emotional you are with that as well, and I really appreciate you opening up.
It's a really big part of my life.
Yeah, and I can tell that from seeing you here now, but also hearing that and seeing that is that's unique. Yeah, very unique, and it's powerful on how much it's affected you, which I think is brilliant. So it's I revert that back to our industry and how powerful our industry is. That those instructors were just doing their thing. Yep. And you managed to connect with them, that whether they knew what you were going through or not, they helped you through that. Yeah. And that's something as obviously you've held, and you can always hold because it's your journey. It's something that you've experienced with them that has helped you immensely. And I love the fact that knowing that now you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of put into words like just how much it helped me, and like I'd go as far to say like saved me.
Yep.
So like I always say, like, when I'm doing a masterclass filming now or whatever, like I always say, it's just group fitness.
Yep.
But on the other side of that, it is, and I know firsthand, it is life changing
Yeah.
and like life saving to
Yep.
some people. So
Yep.
yeah, it's
I
really
love
cool.
hearing that, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us as
You're
well.
welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think it's important to talk about things like
yeah,
this, just to like open up the conversation. But yeah, so I did the first initial module training I would have just been 18.
yep,
So it was 2010. I think it was like just before or just on my 18th birthday, maybe
excellent.
around that in
Yeah,
2010.
yeah.
Um, was that right? Have I got no, when was I
How
born?
old am I again?
I don't know. I don't know. I was really young.
1990. What was that? Where?
I feel like this math isn't adding up. Maybe I was 19. Yeah, maybe I was 19.
Yep.
And I went along and I did my initial module training for body attack. So that was my first
Oh wow.
program
Yeah.
that
Yep.
I trained in.
Yep.
And I'd already been going to it was Fitness First back then at
Yep.
Jindalee. So Karen Russell was
Yes.
the manager, the group X manager.
Yep. Love that. Thank you.
Manager there, and she was one of the women that I would do her classes and was really pivotal
Yep.
in you know, just me
Yeah.
surviving life.
Why?
I think
Why
in
was it
that
Attack?
stage.
Why was Attack your first program? Was there something about Attack that you?
I did a lot of that was probably like my favorite.
Yep.
That and body step, they
Yep.
were probably like my favorite classes to do.
Yeah.
I actually didn't fall into RPM until a bit later because I actually broke my foot. I got a stress fracture in my foot from
Oh.
overdoing it,
Yep.
doing too much body attack and body
Yep.
step.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I fell into RPM, and then obviously,
Yeah.
absolutely fell in love with it.
Yep.
So yeah, body attack and body step were definitely like my number one
Yep.
loves then.
How was your initial module training? So you've come from being a participant. Had you done any pre-choreographed stuff before? Had you looked at any of that kind of world in the past?
I'd actually seen a lot of the like choreography notes and the master classes from my sister being an instructor.
Yep.
And because I loved like Les Mills so much, I used to just like watch those DVDs at home.
Yeah.
Like I just so nerdy. But I just like sit, it was a CD then.
Yep.
And I just put it in, I don't know, my laptop, I don't know, or the TV.
Yep.
And just like watch it for fun.
Yep.
Like I wouldn't do it. I just like sit and watch it. So so I was like quite familiar with like what the masterclass was.
Yeah.
Who Lisa Osborne was.
Yep. Who?
Bevan was huge then.
Yep.
I mean, he still is. And had seen the notes.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yep. Yep.
And then I was lucky enough that Karen was the trainer for my module.
Brilliant.
Along with Claire Hallis.
Yes. Yep.
So I had two amazing trainers to start me off on my journey.
Awesome.
So I went into that module, like terrified because it's a huge thing. But I also think I was like very switched on to what I was about to go through.
Yep.
What it was about. Like I had seen the notes. I had seen what choreography looks like.
Yeah.
I'd read, like the coaching tips and stuff. So I feel like I was quite switched on with stuff like that. I was nowhere near a pro or anything, but I don't think the weekend like shocked me at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I probably felt also quite comfortable because I had Karen there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, cool. I like that. I like hearing that as well. That's a unique story, but also one that's, I think, a lot of people can relate to. If they've gone into something where they're going to have that, oh shit, what is choreography? What is this? Oh my God, I enjoy teaching, but what am I doing? Or they've got a little bit of a heads up on some other participants where I know a little bit of this. You know, it's going to be
Mm.
daunting. It's going to be in my face because wow, this is new, and I'm walking into this a sponge, and I'm going to take on so much. But at the same time, it's a unique experience to you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
every one of us have what I'm trying to say is the journey may be similar, but the experience is unique.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
So what you go through on that day, no one else is going to go through because that's you. That's how you react and how you respond and what's going to happen with you in that thing.
And I think everyone responds to those sorts of like intense training situations differently. I think I kind of like thrive in those situations.
Yep.
Which is weird. Like I'm quite like I have quite introverted energy, but there's something about like I don't think I like putting myself out there. I think it's more like proving to myself that I can do it.
Yep.
Or, you know, going through that process of like learning, applying and then like achieving. Like it's something about that I quite enjoy.
Yep.
So that was a very life-changing weekend for me.
Yep. So did you pass? Did you pass to shadow? Because back then it was a bit different to what it is now, I believe.
It was like the pass to shadow or pass to teach.
Yeah. And then fail or whatever.
And then a fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a pass to teach.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah. So that was awesome. That was cool. I remember I got must have been, I can't remember the body attack release it was, but my track for that module was We Are the Champions.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. I just played that track over and over and over again.
Yep.
Like, you know, I think your first module training track just sticks with you.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure like I never taught it again.
Yes. Yeah. I think it took me another couple of years before I went back to faster, harder scooter from RPM. It was a long journey of going. No, can't do it again. No, Shannon Cleaver made me do it for 12 weeks straight. I think 3 times a week. Yes,
yeah.
It's weird though now if it comes on as I'm driving somewhere because I've got a playlist in the car. If it comes on while driving, I enjoy it, but because it takes me back to that experience of when I was first on a bike after doing training in front of people, because I passed the shadow and that's all I was allowed to do for 12 weeks, one track. But it takes me back there and I remember how green I really was. But also the experience of that's where I started. The reflection to go, hey, you know, as much as I hated it and I cringe, I appreciate the journey that I went through and the experience that I had because that's made me who I am. Yeah. Made me all part of this. If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be doing this. You know, I really appreciate.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, really appreciate those steps I went through.
This is the Group X podcast.
So, can you remember your first class you ever taught by yourself?
You know, I can't really. And to be honest, I've been trying to think about this. I can remember the first track I taught as a team teach post module. I think Karen got me on stage like quite quickly. You know, I think we did the module. I think it was like a Wednesday body attack class she used to take. And I got up and it was terrifying. I think I hated it. Is what I can remember from it. Like I hated every minute of the track that I took. It was just, I think the internal dialogue was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this to myself? It was very me focused, which is not the way you want to, you know, get up and
but weirdly enough, I think at first when we come out of training, it's all us. It's all oh shit, am I doing this? Am I doing the people in front of you? It's almost like they're who? Oh, there's people here. Okay, I know you're here, but whatever. Like, it's not about you. It's about me trying to not fuck up here and get this right and do it all. It's amazing how much pressure we really do put on ourselves. Even I'm going to say probably for the first 3 to 4 months for most of us, and I could be wrong in saying that, but I from my experience anyway, the first couple of months was this is still all about me. I've got to learn. I've got to make sure that my foundations are set right. Yeah, and I think you don't learn that from the weekend module.
No.
That experience you can't get from just doing a 2-day course.
No, it just takes time.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get back
Yeah.
out there and stumble and do it all. And look, I think it's good that you had that experience because let's be realistic. If you'd walked in and you thought you were all that and then some,
No,
you
that was
probably
definitely
wouldn't
not.
be what you're doing now.
I can tell you right now, that was definitely not what happened.
Yeah.
I remembered I scripted word for word the track. So I think maybe she gave me a different track to teach them what my module track was.
Yep.
So I scripted like literally word for word, like, and then we are going to, and like I can remember sitting outside the group fitness room before going in and just like like just trying to like get every bit of information I could that
Yep.
like into my head. And then she's like Karen's such a legend that like, and she was the manager of that gym, and everyone loved her,
Yeah.
loves her. That to get up on that stage and to teach a track in her class, it was really daunting.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of like where a lot of the fear
Yep.
came from as well.
Yep.
And I think actually that class kind of, and it was nothing like she was so supportive and wonderful, and so was the class, really. It was just all me in my head.
Yep.
But it kind of, I think it kind of put me on the back foot because I know after that it took me a really, really long time to actually get certified.
Okay.
So back then you would film a whole
Film.
class
Yeah.
and then send that into an assessor, and
Yep.
then you'd wait weeks to kind of get your pass.
Yeah.
And you'd get sheets and sheets of feedback, which was really cool,
Yep.
sent back to you. But it took me a really long time to get up, like I guess the confidence to teach a full class.
Yep.
So yeah,
Cool, but you finally did.
finally.
Yeah.
But I think it took a good, like, I'm gonna say like a year.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Or whatever. I think there was a cutoff at that time.
Yeah,
back then, to when you could certify.
I think it was 12 months. I could be wrong. For some reason, I think it was 12 months you had from doing your initial module training to submit your.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was like I'm pretty sure I only did it because I was like really close to that cutoff.
Yep.
And I was like, shit,
I need to.
like,
yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of like bite the bullet.
Yeah.
Just get it done, sort of thing.
So what was after attack? What did you do next?
Then it was body step.
Yep.
And like from doing step as a 9-year-old to, after I finished school, like I loved body step.
Yep.
There was something about like the coordination
Yep.
of it.
Yep.
The dance moves with it. Like
Yep.
it was just that was definitely my thing. I think I did attack first because it was kind of like the simpler one to learn as your first program.
Yep.
But in my head, I always wanted to do body step because that was just my love. I loved it.
Yep.
So yeah, I did body step, and again I had Karen and Claire
Yep.
as my trainers. So super lucky again.
Yeah.
And that was a really great module. Yeah, it was the Halloween release.
Oh, yes.
Which I'm sure some people will
Yeah.
remember.
Yep. Yep.
Which is a great release. And yeah, it was awesome. And I had much the same experience, I think,
Yep.
post my step release.
Yeah.
Just getting certified, just kind of finding my feet. I think, and a lot of it also came down to like age. I was still quite young.
Yep.
Just didn't have that confidence really to stand up in front of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that quite hard. I think I felt like a bit of like an imposter.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think I can relate to that, and I think some of my previous guests can as well. It's when you step from participant over to instructor, and you've been participant for so long, and you know it in that land. When you step over to the instructor land world, it's daunting. It's very daunting.
Yeah.
It is. The people that I was there watching with are now watching me.
Yeah.
There's 30 people in there. There's 60 eyes that are watching me. What gives me the they're going to look at me and go, "What are you doing? You were one of us.
Yeah.
What gives you the right to be up there?" I think
why are
that's
you up there?
Yeah. I've shared this before, and I'll say it again. Though I remember the first class that I covered for Shannon, who was the group fitness manager or group X manager at North Sydney, where I was. there was a girl in the front of the class that when I walked in, she said, "Oh, are you teaching?" I said, "Yeah, I am." She walked out. You know, that's it's still.
Yeah, I've had a lot of that.
Yeah, still, it's soul destroying. It's that whole crap. Right, you know, I was teaching at a club in North Sydney, Fitness First, where there were a lot of trainers and presenters on the timetable. So I had a certain level that I had to be at, because if I wasn't, they were going to chew me up and spit me out, you know. And this one lady just didn't want to. She'd seen me from being a participant and was like, "You're just fat tone from in the corner," you know. That was what her mindset was, is that why would I be up on stage? Why I'm not going to sit here and do that. You're just a participant. And I get it. I totally get it. I totally understand her mindset. She was conditioned to having a certain level of presenter or instructor in front of her to see me, who used to sit 2 blocks around from her on the corner. So then all of a sudden in front of her, not coming to this class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
God, people can be mean though, can't they? I think that's when you got to think of it from the end of, it's just a group fitness class.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. Look,
calm down.
Weirdly enough, looking back on it now, that wasn't a reflection on me. It was more a reflection on her.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And but at the same time, those interactions you have and that experience can make or break. You know, you walk in there and someone's like walking out, "Oh wow, it was a brand new instructor." That's shattering.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, righto, I'm got to look at beyond this and just sort of go, okay, I was asked to do this, and obviously someone else sees that skill set in me. I can get in there and I can do this. I can give this a shot, and obviously that's what's happened for us in that way. And I think a lot of instructors as well, whether their members have voiced it or not, I'm pretty sure that we've all probably gone through that experience in some way, whether we knew about it or not.
And it's really hard to then get up and teach a class without that sort of affecting you and throwing you.
Yeah.
But it sounds horrible, but the more you experience it, the better you get at just pushing it to the side.
When you gel and realize that not everyone's going to like you, and you become okay with that.
Yeah,
that's when you're
it's actually a blessing.
Yeah, that's when you get that inner peace.
Can just, So thank you, mean people.
Yeah. Yes, we love you now.
Yeah.
Back then, well. No, that's brilliant. So, how did the opportunity come up to do what you're doing now? Well, sorry, let me reverse that. After STEP, obviously, you did RPM.
Yeah, so I had done my attack and my STEP trainings, and was, in the combination of just like still doing classes as a participant, team teaching, not really taking my own full classes yet because I just didn't have that confidence in myself, but in also got certified in both the programs eventually. And then in some time in between those 2 years, so I think I trained 2010 for step and attack, and then in those 2 years I broke my foot just from overuse, just too much impact. So I got a pretty nasty stress fracture in one of my feet, and silly me still tried to do things with like a moon boot on, like absolutely crazy. Looking back at myself now, it was just like insane. Someone should have just sat me down and just be like, "What are you doing?" So the recovery from that took ages. Like it should have been, I don't know, it's like 12 weeks in a moon boot or something, and it took double the time. But during that process, I found RPM because that was the only thing I was really supposed to be doing, and even that was kind of pushing it. Like I think my physio was kind of like, "Yeah, you can do it. Don't stand up, though." Or,
sure.
Of course, I was.
Sure.
Of course, I stood up.
Of course, you did.
Yeah, I'm going to be the only one at the class.
Oh, look what she's doing. She's sitting down.
Yeah. But absolutely fell in love with that program. Like it was such a blessing that's what it took to take me into that room. And I'd done a few classes before, but I think having to fully immerse myself in that kind of space, because that was the only really real movement I could do. It was amazing. It was the music, I think the dark room, being really close to everyone moving in unison. Um, yeah, it was just like I just fell in love with it. Um,
I hear.
and again, it
I
was
hear.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it was
The dark room, the
Paradise.
loud music, the intensity, all of that kind of stuff is what grabbed me as well. It's I being in the gym environment for so many years, I remember doing PT and watching a sales consultant take someone around for what I call the museum tour. Yep. This is this,
Yeah,
this is this. Is just show them what they need to see. Don't show them everything where the toilets are and whatever. But walking past the group exercise space and walking past the cycle studio, and you'd see the look on that prospect or member, that soon to be member's face of, wow, that looks so intense in that cycle space.
yeah,
That's, oh my God. But the music was blaring and everything. And they're a bit taken back because it's like, oh crap, I need to get fit to get in there. No, you don't. You go in there to get fit, and that's that mind switch that I think a lot of sales consultants need to sort of switch on. Is that's where you need to go. You get yourself into those studios in order to get fit. Do everything else you're in here, but really push that to help. And I think that once a member walks into that environment, they're hooked.
yeah,
Yeah. That I remember the second row, I was underneath the fan, underneath the speaker. It was so intense and so loud that if it wasn't loud enough, I'd be telling the instructor to turn it up. You needed that, come on, let's do this. It's just that euphoric feeling of let's go. Let's do this. And then when you actually become an instructor and you're able to pass that back on to those people that are in there and they gel with you and want it to be turn it up. We need this to be louder. Let's go. Is that pivotal point?
yeah. There's something really special about the cycle space, the cycle room. Yeah.
So where did you do your initial module training for that one?
So that one was in Brisbane. I think most of the initial module trainings at that time actually ran at Key Street, North Key Fitness First, which is just like a gym in the city.
Yep.
So I did it there. My trainers was Dallas's first training module.
Yeah.
I think he did it with someone else, and I want to say it was I want to say it was Troy Grimshaw.
Yes.
But I could be so wrong, but I think it was.
Yep.
I think it was one of his last modules.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I think it was Dallas's sign-off module.
Yep.
So he took most of it, really.
Yeah.
And that's super special because so Dallas did my initial module training, and then he's been my trainer for AIM 1, AIM 2.
Yep.
And sprint and all of that. So he's really kind of been that key person for me, which is super cool. Yeah.
Awesome. How did your RPM training go? How was the module? Can you recall?
Great.
Yeah,
it was great. I feel like by that time, you've done a few modules, and of course, like they're all different programs, but you kind of, you get you know what you're going to walk into in some way, and I just loved RPM so much. So I was so excited to do it. It was RPM 47.
Yep.
And I got track 2, which was Katy Perry.
Yes.
Song.
Yep.
Wake Me Up in Vegas.
Yes. Yeah. That was, I'm going to say, that was close to when we went PPCA free, wasn't it?
It was the release.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I had that it was that first horrible release where it was like Kesha for track 1 and she sounded like an absolute like chipmunk.
Yes.
And then it was that release that it was pretty it wasn't nice on the ears.
Yeah. Yes, that was a turning point in our industry that I believe back then we lost a lot of instructors as well because it was like, nah, can't do this anymore. But I think it also bred a new breed of instructors came through around that time as well that were like, okay, we don't know any different. Yeah, cool, that's just what it is. Yeah. It's not ideal, but we've evolved over time with that.
There's always going to be resistance to change. We see it now still when something changes.
Yep.
And to be honest, I think it was because we still got the original music, and
Yep.
then we got an extra CD with the PPCA
Yes.
free music. And I
Yep.
think when you can compare them,
Yeah.
like, of course it's going to stick out, but when you just get the PPCA, it's actually not that bad.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
If that's what you hear the first time.
yeah,
If you haven't
that's all
heard the
you
music
know.
before, then yeah, that's all right. I can do that.
Yeah.
There was some. I remember there were some releases where that had happened, and then when Rachel and I moved to Canberra, and there was a club that I was teaching at down there, were only original music. When I went back to get some of the original music from the covers, I couldn't teach them because I couldn't handle the original version because I was so in tune with what the cover version was that the members down there were like, "Oh, Tony, the cover music sounds atrocious." I'm like, "That doesn't. It's great." But that whole switch.
It's just but everyone got over it.
Yes, yeah, true. Yeah. So there was you said track 2 that you got.
Track 2,
Yeah.
It was the Katy Perry.
Yeah.
Wake Me Up in Vegas with the lotto machines going off in
Yeah.
the first few seconds.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah. How did you go teaching your first class of RPM?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I progressed in RPM a lot quicker. It was just more natural to me.
Yep.
I got certified really quickly. I sent my video in super quickly. I was taking a full class, I can't remember the time frame, but I just remember it was just, I just felt, I felt more me in that room.
Yep.
And I think, I was just more confident in sitting on the stage and teaching RPM.
Yep.
I didn't feel like I was I didn't feel like I shouldn't be there.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know if the dark room had something to do with it as well. Like it's not as everyone's looking at me, and of course
they are.
They are, but
and the spotlight is really just on you.
yeah. So maybe it's worse, but I don't know, something about it that I didn't feel as exposed.
Yeah.
As the other programs.
I agree with that, and I can gel with that too. My second program was Pump, and I didn't stay with teaching Pump because I couldn't get a expression out of anybody that I was teaching. They're all just pan-faced and just going through the motions, where RPM for me, I could connect with people. I could see what they were going through. They would show the facial expressions back at me from what I was doing on a bike, and we were able to get everything going. But I just couldn't find that in Pump or even in CX or Grit either. Just didn't happen. It was just their focus of, right, I've got to do this and I'm getting through it, where I enjoyed RPM for the reason I said that I could get a rise out of people. I'd be cheeky, in the warm-up track, I'd be turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself. Go on, just say good day. You're sitting a foot and a half away from him. Just say hello to him, because if you don't know him, hello, you never know who you're going to meet. Just say good day, At the end of track 3, you turn to him and just goes, is that all you got? But it was, it helped build the community in that space, because they're all in there together. If they can sort of look at each other and go, oh, come on a bit more. Well, one, you're helping me teach, but two, you're helping create a friendship with someone that you're next to in that environment as well. And it was, that was where I enjoyed the RPM experience of teaching more than most of the programs I went through.
There's something really special about RPM, because you don't have much else than up and down. And the music. So it leaves a lot of space to really connect with the people in front of you, the people next to you. And I really, really, really fell in love with that program.
This is the Group X podcast.
So how did the next step of your career, how did that happen? What happened next is what I should be asking you.
I'm so bad at timelines, but within some time, between 2012 and 2016, I did my AIM-1 and my AIM-2. Not looking to get anything out of it. It was just as in, progressing my career in a trainer, a presenter, just because, you do your initial module training and there hadn't been those AIM-1 and 2 modules. So once you do your training, you're kind of left to it, and there
Yeah.
was no development. So
Yep.
when they came out, it was awesome because it was a chance to learn more and to develop. And I just loved those module weekends.
Yep.
So I was really excited to just be able to do another module.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was Dallas again. I was
Yep.
super lucky to have him for aim 1 and 2.
We should stop saying that because he'll probably listen and get a big head.
Yeah, his head's just like bigger and bigger.
I'll get a phone call after this, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I had him from aim 1, and then aim 2 I had I was, I'm going to say super lucky again. I've said that a million times, but it was a module. I think it was the first aim 2 RPM module in Queensland.
Yep.
And we actually had Karen, Dallas, Jacko, and Lee all do the module together.
Awesome.
So we had 4
like
absolute legends take us through aim 2.
Yep.
And it was
that would have been a great experience.
It was so good. It was such a good weekend. So I did that, and that was great. And I think I don't know, there might be people that listen to this and go, she's got this so wrong, but I think there was kind of talk about me maybe, going down the path of presenting.
Yep.
But at that time I was still in uni, so I started uni late. I didn't go to uni straight out of school because I, had a few mental health challenges, and I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was, doing the group fitness thing. And then in I don't know what date it was. At some time, 2013, I think it was, I decided to study nursing, a Bachelor of Nursing.
Sweet.
So at the time that I had done aim 1, aim 2, I was still kind of, I think I was in maybe my last year of nursing, and it's nursing. Nursing is a really hard bachelor to study because not only do you have to do the study component, you have to do 800 hours.
Oh wow!
Of unpaid nursing. On top of it.
Wow.
On top of a full course load. So it's 800 hours of unpaid work.
Is this over a year period or over what?
Over a 2-year period.
Holy crap.
Yeah. It's
unpaid.
It's mental. Unpaid. Yeah. And you still get a HEX debt. You still get, have to do all the
Jesus
subjects. Yeah. So it's a full uni course load and practical.
What does that work out to be per week? My brain can't even compute any of that. What were you doing?
I have no idea, but we would do them in blocks. So it was kind of every semester you'd go out for 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it'd be a different setting. It'd be aged care you'd start with, and then you go into a hospital and do, whatever specialty. And yeah, it's really hard. Nursing, and same with paramedics.
Going to say rewarding though. Have you found that rewarding for what you do?
Yeah, totally. Love being a nurse, and I'm really grateful I have that as well. I would no, I don't know. I was going to say I would call nursing my primary job. Obviously Les Mills is my passion, but I guess nursing
makes sense
is my profession.
Yeah.
And it's important to me because I worked hard to get that degree.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can I ask you a question around nursing? And you can say no, and we don't have to even. This doesn't have to go to where if you don't want to. Did nursing come about because of the mental health issues that you?
Yeah.
They did.
Yes, 100%. I think I'm where I am now in life because I'm teaching group fitness and nursing because those 2 things really helped me.
Yeah.
And I know, I want to pay it forward.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I can see the emotion coming through again with you at the moment, but I appreciate so much that that's your reason why you're doing what you're doing, to be able to pay it forward, and that's beautiful. Yeah, really is. I'm not just saying that because I'm interviewing and chatting to you. It really is unique and special that you've come from a dark place, but you're able to turn that around and see the positives from it and do something about it to or make sure that others, or not to make sure, but to help others go through similar or have a better experience with that. Thank you again. Yeah, I know I've said that already a couple of times,
welcome.
but I really do appreciate you sharing that vulnerability and that side of you, because I think there's more. I don't think it's spoken about enough.
No,
Yeah, I really don't.
definitely not.
And it's not this whole Group X thing isn't about mental illness and all that kind of stuff, mental health and all that kind of stuff. But if we can get people speaking about it and opening up about it a little bit on the way through, I'm happy for that to happen. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for
You're
that.
welcome. I think everyone has their origin stories,
Yeah.
in relation to mental health, whether it be, personally or someone they know. And there's still such a stigma around it, even though we like to think there isn't.
Yeah.
I think there definitely is.
Yeah.
And I'm a complete open book when it comes to like my journey. So yeah, I'm more
Cool.
than
So
happy
what this is going to probably sound really naive of me when I ask this question, but in nursing, what am I trying to ask you? Where do you work
kind
within
of
nursing?
nursing?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. So I work in it's like a general medical setting,
Yep.
which it basically means we see everything. So we get everything from mental health,
Yep.
which I enjoy nursing, and palliative care,
Yep.
so end of life, which is also a really beautiful aspect of nursing.
Yep.
To dementia, so geriatrics stuff,
Yep.
like completely everything you could think of, we
Yeah.
kind of see and
Yep.
do, which
Yep.
is great because you get so many different skills.
Yeah.
And then it also has a renal specialty, the ward that I work on. So
Yep.
like kidney stuff, people that have kidney failure and are dialyzing. So super lucky. I love where I work.
Thank you for doing what you
It's
do.
great.
Yep.
Oh,
thank you.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
fine.
It's nice to chat to someone that's doing it. I've only ever, with been in hospital every time that I've had something done, but nurses make that experience, and without you guys, we wouldn't be able to. Yeah. Thank you.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Yep.
I love it. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very hard. But it is also rewarding. And yeah, I really, really love nursing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. So I'll divert you back to RPM because I appreciate you sharing it, but let's move it back over to RPM. How did the opportunity come up with Les Mills International? Tell us a little bit about that.
So like I said, I was sort of finishing my uni degree, and I think there was a conversation around let's just or me kind of putting out, I don't know. I just remember something being like, let's just let her finish uni.
Yep.
Yep. So I graduated. I was 26 at that stage. It was 2016. And I graduated mid-semester. So like I said, Bachelor of Nursing is super hard. So once I graduated, I was like, yes, I'm free. This is amazing. And it all kind of happened at the same time. So I had just graduated and I booked a trip to New Zealand to go to a filming because it was Body Pump 100.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I don't have any uni, I'm just gonna do it. And I went alone. I didn't go with anyone.
Yeah.
I just went. And that was awesome. So I was there kind of for the filming week. At that time it was still like open rehearsals.
Yeah.
So the team would still rehearse and you'd know and you could go and do the classes.
Yeah.
And there was heaps of people there because it was Body Pump 100 and it was like quite a big filming event. So I was having a great time. I was just doing all the classes. I had just free from uni. It was just an awesome time in my life.
Yep.
And I had over the years online just like connected with Sarah Ostergaard, just, a message here and there, just me saying like, thank you for, everything that you do. Because,
Yep.
watching her on the
Yep.
master classes as well, she was
Yeah.
really pivotal
Yep.
in me developing as an instructor and just someone that I really looked up to, um, as a woman. So when I was over there for filming week, she was like, "Hey, do you want to teach a class with me?" And I
That's
think
awesome.
by this, yeah. So I was like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah.
And it must have been before I went over. I must have made the LMAP team, because, and I can't really remember how, but because I must have, because I remember Sarah asked me to teach a class, and I remember messaging Michelle Dean, who was, the
The
training
training
manager
manager.
at the
Yeah.
time, being
Yep.
like, "Am I allowed to do this?"
Yep.
Because I had like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like asking permission.
Yep.
Because like I had no idea. I didn't want to step on any
Yeah.
toes.
No, you did the right thing.
I
Yeah.
was new to the team. I didn't want to like rub anyone the wrong
Yeah.
way. And
Yep.
we were just going to teach like I think it was like a Tuesday morning, her normal Tuesday morning
Yeah.
class. But I
Yep.
was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Yeah. Yep.
So I must have just made the LMAP team as well before that trip. It must have. I thought it happened maybe the other way around, but it must
Yep.
have happened the other way. Anyway, Michelle was like, "Yeah, of course. Like, why are you asking me?"
Yeah.
And so I taught that class, and I think I had like a day to kind of like prepare my choreography, my tracks. And she was
Yep.
like, "What do you want to teach? Just let me know." She's so lovely.
She
And so
is.
I sent her
She
my
is.
I sent her like the tracks that I wanted to teach, and then we didn't have the app. The app wasn't a thing
Yep.
then.
Yep.
So I had the music because it was still like on just like my iTunes
Yeah.
playlist on my phone,
Yep.
but I didn't have the choreography, and like I didn't go to New Zealand thinking I was going to
Yeah.
teach, let alone with Sarah.
Yep.
So I had to message someone back home and be like, "Can you please
Good.
like take a photo of the the notes so
So
I know
yeah.
like
Yep.
And I just, yeah, so I learned the choreography, showed up, and her classes was super fun,
Yep.
because she's such a connector,
Yeah.
that everyone in her class is like, yeah, it was a cool class, and I taught, and I don't really know the ins and outs of what happened after that, but
Yep.
it was kind of like, I made the team. I taught with Sarah just organically. That happened.
Yep.
I think she invites a lot of people to teach with her when
Yep.
she was teaching
Yeah.
at the club, and it was amazing. It was the best moment of my
Experience.
life. Like
Yeah.
it was just so much fun.
Yep.
And she's just as lovely, in person than
Yeah.
what you see on the
And
masterclass.
I got that from chatting to her when I interviewed her a
Yeah,
couple of weeks back. It
yeah,
was just
she's
unique, but so natural.
yeah.
Just her. What we see is her. There's no.
hmm
Yeah. I can't even use the right words.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something you can't really
Yeah.
explain
Yeah.
what it is. I think it's like she's also super nurturing,
Yeah.
which was, I think that was like a draw card for
Yeah.
me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was newly on the Australian team, having completed my aim 2 and gotten an elite outcome. At that time, I think that was sort of the process.
Yes.
If you
Yep.
got an elite outcome, they'd have their list of people, and it was just like, what did the Queensland team need?
Required. Yeah.
Is
Yep.
there do we need another presenter here?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I was very newly on the team. I hadn't yet taught a workshop class yet.
Yep. Yep.
That was close, and I'd just gotten back from New Zealand for that, just
Yeah.
being a participant
Yep.
in Body Pump 100.
Yep.
And I remember I was walking home from the gym, and I got a call from Michelle Dean being like, "Hey, how would you feel?" It was like something like, "How would you feel about being on an RPM masterclass. It was something like that.
Yep.
And I could not believe it. I
Yep.
think I was speechless. I cried. As soon as I got off the call with her, I called my husband and I was
Yep.
crying.
Excellent.
It was never like, um, the goal for
Yep.
me. I
Yep.
think, I think it like a lot of instructors, would would dream or hope or, see the masterclass and,
Yeah. Yep.
think, wow, like I could do that.
Yep.
But it was never like the goal
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
I just wanted to keep developing, keep hoping they'd keep bringing out modules like
Yeah.
AIM 3 or
Yep.
AIM 4,
Yep. Yep.
like,
Yep.
yeah. So it wasn't, and yeah, it just all happened very quickly, I'd say, and organically.
Yeah.
And I'm probably still in the dark about how it all really happened,
Yep.
but
It did.
it did. I
Yes.
got the call and it
Yeah.
did.
That's fantastic. So have you, well, let me rephrase that. Are you a trainer and presenter for the Aussie team?
So currently I'm just a presenter,
Yep.
uh, for the LMAP team.
Yep.
Um, and I am a Les Mills ambassador for
For
Les
Les
Mills
Mills International.
International.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, which involves presenting
Yeah.
um, on the masterclass. I never really had the I kind of tried to go down the path of being a trainer
Yes.
because, like I said, but I love paying it forward. I
Yep.
know how life changing those modules are, but I just don't have the time capacity
Yep.
to devote my weekends. As a nurse, I have
Understand
to
that.
work weekends,
Yep.
and it just wasn't. It's maybe in the future,
Yeah.
that's something I'll go down, but
Yep.
at the moment, it just won't fit. But
Yeah.
yeah, so a presenter for LMAP and an ambassador for LMI.
Cool. So talk us through your lead up to your first masterclass filming. How,
Yeah.
what, where, when? Give us everything. Give us everything you possibly can to remember about that experience.
It still doesn't really feel real.
Yep.
Like I still kind of pinch myself that's what I do. Like it's not. But the first one was really, really special and cool for a number of reasons. So obviously, just being asked to do it was
Yeah.
a huge honor.
I also love the
Absolutely.
fact that the first person you rang was your husband. And
Yeah.
had that moment. That's that. The fact that you remember that as well is I think important, but also shows that I think whenever anything like that happens, the first person you ring and you share with is that person that you have that deep connection with.
Yeah.
Hey, and them being able to share that experience with you as well is so wonderful.
Well, I think like he had seen me for years, like watch the master classes and
Yeah.
just be like, in awe.
Yep.
You devote so much of your
Yes.
time as an instructor watching those. There were DVDs then.
Yep.
Um,
It was
and-
VHS when I first started, but we won't go down that path.
So he knew like
Yeah.
what it was. So yeah, he was so happy for me, and he is still so supportive, and
Yeah.
everyone that I'm lucky enough to get the opportunity to do, it's the same excitement.
Yep.
The novelty hasn't worn off.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first one was really special. I was absolutely terrified, and I think also battling a little bit of, again, imposter syndrome in that new on the team. I think the whole LMAP team is amazing, but I can understand that how it would have felt, or see like how it would have been to hear like this girl who is this person that's getting the opportunity to be on a masterclass that has just joined the team, that hasn't even done a workshop.
Yep.
Sort of thing. I understand that. So I think I was yeah, like it was hard because you're so excited. And I know personally that I had done the work
Yeah.
that, I would study the notes. I would watch the master classes for hours just because I loved it. I'd done my training, I'd done my upskilling. I'd participate in classes all the time to absorb what other people were saying,
Yeah.
to learn from them. I'd team teach, like I had done the work. It might not have been the way that other people were doing it. I'm sure it seemed like I popped up out of nowhere to a lot of people.
This is the Group X podcast.
I like your acknowledgement of that, but the thing I'll bring it back to is you have a unique skill set. Yep. And there's no right or wrong way. There's no path of these are the steps we must go through. And if everybody goes through these steps, this is what's going to happen in the end. Yeah.
Yes.
You have a skill set that people saw and went, her. There's something there. We can hone in on that. She's got that. And I get, as you said before, it's that imposter thing, because sometimes you don't see it in yourself. But no, we all see it. Yeah, we all see what you have and what you bring to what you do, because you are a natural at what you do. You are so they say about you got to fit in the essence of the program. Yeah, you do. I can't say it in any other way than that. You are RPM. You are that program for all of us. We look at you in that program and look at you when you teach, and you can see why you're doing what you're doing. That you just fit. Yeah. And I think and I may have mentioned this before on one of my past episodes, that most instructors, trainers, and presenters will support you, will hold you up and go, you know what? Yeah, right person, right fit. There are some that will, as you said, there was probably some, there could have been some that may have turned around and gone, oh, how did she get in that? And then have that whole jealousy moment. But I don't think those people are prominent in our industry. Yeah.
No.
I don't think there's
right.
many of them. Those that are don't last long. They don't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people around, most of our peers will celebrate with us and celebrate for us in that way, and realize that, if they, I'll say this, let's compare you and me. Just say we're on par. We're nowhere near on par, but let's just pretend in this little world for a second that, yep, Tone and Dee are there on par, and all of a sudden they've chosen you and not me. If I was that type of person that would have been jealous, I probably would have turned around and gone, whatever. Yeah. But I don't think it'd last long, because I would realize in myself, well, you'd hope that I would have realized in myself, Tony, you're not the right fit. You don't have the skill set that Dee does. Even though I'm looking at myself going, yeah, we're exactly the same. We train the same. We've done all that. You were steps ahead of me on that journey because of who you are and what you've done, what you've gone through in your life. You've had a different experience that you're sharing with people. And that's what people have seen in those positions at Les Mills International, or wherever it may be, however you were seen, that they wouldn't have seen what Tony's done, because Tony hasn't done what you've done. I haven't been through what you've been through, even though we may be on the same steps of what we're doing. As I said, we started our RPM training at the same time. We did all that kind of stuff. We got to that, in this hypothetical land, we got to that level where we're the same. Why didn't I get chosen? There's a reason you got chosen in that way. And I think those instructors or those trainers, presenters they don't last.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So it was just like it was, I had to shut out a lot of that noise.
Yep.
When I went over to New Zealand, and I had to remember, they've picked me for a reason, like you said, like I'm here for a reason. So I think I just kept saying that to myself, but it was hard to have like a lot of that dialogue going on, and not saying it was like anyone within the LMAP team. I think it was just like, chatter around in the industry, like, oh, LMI are choosing people for their look because of Reebok and blah, blah, blah. So
I remember hearing a lot of that. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lot of that going on, and I kind of came in during that time. Um, and so it does make you second guess, like, oh, like shit, am I actually good enough
Yep.
to do this? Is that
Totally.
why I'm
Yeah.
here? Like, so yeah, I had to. Yeah, it was challenging in the way that I'm young, going over to do the biggest thing in my group fitness career, having a lot of like chatter going on in the background, and just wanting to do a really good job,
Yeah.
for the people in front of me. And I had so many wonderful people that were so supportive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I had amazing, amazing people that were supportive. But yeah, it's hard to turn off all that sort of noise.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was one of the challenges.
Yep.
But other than that, it was a really, really fun, amazing week. It was intense. It was challenging. It was exposing. At that time, masterclass filming was still kind of like teach a million classes a day
Yep.
and get feedback after every one.
Yep.
And sort of still focused on like, what aren't you doing well?
Yep.
Fix that.
Yep.
It's changed a lot now to what are your strengths? Let's amplify that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back then it was definitely like, you need to fix this.
Yep. Was it teaching to a
great.
live class, or was it teaching just a camera?
It was teaching to a live class, but in Studio One. So
Okay.
it wasn't
Yeah.
in the
Yep.
RPM room
Yep.
where they had been previously. It
Yep.
was up in Studio One. So
Yep.
so I guess like a fake sort of
Yeah.
RPM studio.
Yeah.
But 2 people.
Yep.
And it was a big team. We had Sarah, Glenn, Anna from the USA, who's amazing, and myself, and Kyle was there filming Body Attacks, and
Yes.
then he shadowed RPM.
Yep.
And we had Chris Richardson as our coach, which was incredible.
Excellent. Yeah.
And then obviously like Glenn and Sarah overseeing everything as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was
Love it.
really
Can I
really cool week.
can I ask you a question that's probably going to sound a bit crass? Did you shit yourself? Were you shitting yourself before you?
You know what? There's something that I guess I'm proud of myself for is having the ability. It's something about when I get on stage and the cameras are on, something just like switches and I'm just on. I'm just like, and I'm here to do a job.
Yep.
And I want to deliver that job.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, I'm a pretty like nervous, shy person, and I don't know what it is, but when I get on that stage, I just feel like that's where I should be.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, of course, I was shitting myself,
Yeah.
especially in the lead up, like
Yeah.
the lead up when you're getting your hair and makeup done.
Yep.
Walking up to the studio and you're like, shit, like
This is real.
for that one as well, that first one, I'd scripted every word.
Yep.
And that's very obvious when you watch the masterclass. It's like very scripted. But
what release
every
was
word.
what release was your first one?
74.
Okay. Yep.
I had track 2, Zillionaire. But yeah, I had scripted every word. And you know those classes where you're like, the music comes on and you're like, shit, what is the choreography? Like something you just blank. I definitely had those moments.
Yeah.
But once you get a few words out, then you just like,
you know what you're doing.
roll with
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And it totally is like a make or break kind of thing. Like, what you're gonna be nervous and crumble, and then or you're just gonna like go all out.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
You do
sort
it.
of my mentality.
I think that's where you say that realization comes into play, that I'm here to do a job, but I'm here because they know that I can do this. Yeah. And so there's that bit of confidence that comes through. As you said, there's a split second of, oh shit, what was the Corey? Oh no, that's all right. Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, cool. You get in there and do it. Yeah.
Oh, those moments are horrible, aren't they? When you're just like, what am I
How
supposed to be doing?
How did you feel at the end of your first ever recording? Now, whether it was either straight after or whether you're coming home after that week, how did you decompress? How did you
I felt amazing. I felt absolutely just on cloud nine. Like it wasn't so much the filming. I think that the actual like filming class, it was the whole week. It
Yeah.
was being able to like spend time with Glenn and Sarah and Chris and learn so much from them. You know, the highs and the lows of filming week. You know, you have some big highs and you have some low
Yeah.
lows. Like it's a
Yep.
challenging week. But the whole week is just so you just I just learned so much. So once the filming was over, I was just like, yeah, wow, that was
Yeah.
like, let's do it again.
Yep.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like jumping off a roller
And
coaster going, oh, can we?
yeah,
I'm going to go again. Got to go again.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And at that time, we still kind of went back to the office and watched the line cut. So
Yep.
you'd go back to the office and you'd get to watch like the line cut of what you just filmed straight away.
Yep.
And they'd ask you what food you wanted. And so there'd be all this delicious food waiting for you, and you'd all sit down as a team and watch it, and
Awesome.
laugh and cringe, and
Yep.
why did I say that?
Yes.
And so that was really fun. And so my husband came over for that filming because it was my first one, and
Yep.
I thought that was my one and done.
Yep.
I didn't know there was going to be anything else after that.
Yep.
So he came over to watch it, and so did Karen, which was really special because she was, she's been my mentor.
Yep.
I'd say her and Dallas have been, pivotal in my
Yep.
RPM career. So she came over for like 24 hours. It was crazy. I
Yep.
think she like flew in, flew out. So that was special. And then after it, my husband and I traveled around New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just I think for like a week or a bit more. He's actually from New Zealand. He's a Kiwi. So,
Okay. Yep.
we saw some of his family and we did like a little road trip, which was
Nice.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So
Yeah.
what happened next? Give us the next one. How long between filming your first release to filming your second, and give us a little bit more if you can around
So
what that
film
entails these days.
74. Yeah, so film 74 and then I filmed 75. So I was so equally, if not more shocked to hear that they wanted me back.
Yep.
I was just like, oh, are you kidding? Like, so that was super exciting. I'm really honestly so grateful for every opportunity I get to film. Like, even though I'm an ambassador, I never expect to
Yep.
be asked.
Yep.
That yes, there's certain contracts, but like I never expect to be asked for a filming round. So it's always a really nice surprise, and I always get just as excited for
Yep.
the next every time.
Yep.
So yeah, they asked me back. Sarah was actually pregnant, so I think I kind of felt filled the girl role
Yeah.
in the team.
Yep.
Really.
Yep.
That was probably why I'd say they asked me back, because they needed someone to be the girl on the stage. And
Yep.
I had just filmed. I live in Australia. It's nice. I'm not naive. I'd say that
Yeah.
was why
Yep.
I got asked back.
Yep.
And that was a great week. That was just Brent, Glenn, and I. So it was
Yes.
a small team, which was
Yep.
a different experience in itself. And that was wonderful. And it just kept going
Yep.
from there. Yeah, it's been amazing. So yeah, from RPM 74, I just filmed RPM 97, and there's been a few that I've missed in between all those releases, when I got married or
Yep.
had a baby.
Yeah. Yep.
Or COVID.
Yep. That thing. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Is there anything special you do personally prior to filming? Like to get yourself in the zone, do you have minutes by yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, I think as I've alluded to before, and as I said to you before we started recording, I'll go and put on The Prodigy and sit there for 5 minutes and listen to something that is just clears my head with everything, and it's my moment of going, Tone, pull your shit together. You've got to, you're out there, you've got to perform, you've got to do this. Do you go through anything like that? Is there anything you do? Do you have special undies? Is there special socks? Is there something that like that?
What I do is hilarious, and I'm sure like people will just think I'm the biggest loser. I, as I am getting ready to leave for filming, I Google like motivational videos on YouTube. You know those videos that's like, this is your time.
Yeah.
It's now or never.
Yep,
Like
yep.
the weak don't give up. The weak give up, and like
Yeah,
those
yeah.
really
Yep,
corny
yep,
videos.
yep.
I listen to those.
Brilliant.
Which is so funny.
But it's what works, isn't it? It's your time. It's your thing. That's what you need there and then. I think that's perfect. Yeah, it's
Yeah. So I'll listen to that, and
Yep.
then I'll listen to a song that I really like
Yep.
at that time.
Yep.
On the way there, and yeah, I do go quite internal
Yep.
pre-filming. So once we're at the studio, wherever we're filming, I don't talk to a lot of people.
Yep.
And I have to like tell people that I'm like, I'm not being rude.
Yep.
I'm just like trying to gather
center.
myself.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's different. Different people react different ways. Yeah, I remember doing stuff for Les Mills head office, and we'd go and do a group fitness management seminar, and I'd be, as I said, I'd put the Prodigy on, go and breathe and get in my zone and do all that kind of stuff. I know others that'd be standing there pacing or looking at the module stuff that we're about to do. Everyone does things differently because it's unique to you and how you're feeling at that moment. I think it's beautiful because it's no one can take it away from you. Whether we think it's dorky, whether you think it's dorky, or whatever it may be, it's you and your experience, which is part of the experience and part of what you're doing.
This is the Group X podcast.
So, do you have a favourite release?
I will say the ones we just filmed last quarter that haven't been released yet, so 96 and 97 that are coming out, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's just because they're fresh in my mind.
Yep.
I mean, if I really gave it a lot of thought and went back to some older releases, I'm sure, some would stick out. My favorite RPM track, though, is definitely Welcome to Africa.
Yes.
I love that track so much.
Yeah. That's a track 7, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what release, but yeah, that's a good track. But yeah, the next two are really cool. I really, really enjoyed doing those ones. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like hearing that. It's for those that are listening, those that are RPMers, there's 2 amazing releases coming that Dee can't tell us any more about, which is cool, and we understand that. They're going to be good. So hopefully by the time these are out, that you'll have them, or if you're listening now, you would have known 96 and 97 are amazing releases as well.
Glenn has done an outstanding job, and the creative team at the music.
Brilliant.
It is cool.
Brilliant.
Yep.
So what are you doing now? I know you've said you're nursing, you're ambassador for Les Mills International, and you're a presenter here in Australia. Is there anything else that you are juggling with all of that? Obviously you're a full-time mum as well. Yeah. So nursing, the LMAP side of things, the LMI side of things. So they're very different to me. Yes.
I feel like I fill different roles.
Yeah.
So they're almost like 2 separate things to me.
Yep.
And then teaching my group fitness classes, which I don't actually have a lot of classes that I teach at the moment. Just I'm just finding my feet still post having a baby.
Yeah.
Kind of working out how to juggle everything.
Yep.
Being a good mum.
Being a parent is a as I'm sure there'll be a certain percentage of listeners. Being a parent's a challenge.
Yeah.
Being a parent is the best experience I've ever had. I'll give that to anyone for sure. It's the dad, being called dad is the best word I've ever been called in my life. But it's also it's a challenge, but it's the best thing ever. And juggling that with full-time work. And I'll be honest, when Leah come along, my first year I still taught, but I was still traveling for Les Mills Asia Pacific and traveling around seeing clubs and helping clubs. But got to the stage where I wanted to see my daughter. I didn't want to watch her grow up by FaceTime. And when we relocated from Canberra to Wollongong, I decided to stop teaching. I didn't need to let the world know that I'd retired because, God, I hope I haven't retired and I hope to get back into it one day. But I just stopped because it was where I was in that journey. I couldn't have enough time to do everything I wanted to do, as well as starting a new job and getting in there. So I totally respect where you are with that decision at the moment and where you're at.
I think having a family makes you really reevaluate, where you want to be putting your time and what's important to you and what's not. So just kind of working out, what works for me and my family and stuff at the moment. There's lots of it's especially like with shift work and traveling, like it's hard to juggle everything. But I'm chugging along at the moment and it's good. But I think I've always said it's really important for me to have other things, even though Les Mills has been so pivotal in my life. It's been important for me to not put all my eggs in one basket, to have my another career. And I think if you can do that, if group fit or the fitness industry isn't your main job and you can kind of have something else as well, I think that's important too.
The role that you have with Les Mills International, the ambassador role, can you give us a little bit more detail around what that actually entails?
Yes and no. Still a little bit of like a mystery to me. So I'm a regular face on the masterclasses as a part of my role. My predominant programs as an ambassador are RPM, Sprint, and Body Step and Tone. So they're kind of the 4 programs that you'll see me kind of frequent on for the filmings. And I think it's just like it's just being, I don't want to say the face as a, an aesthetic thing. It's like being, the person, one of the people out of the group of ambassadors that we have, head up what the Les Mills brand is. It's a hard one to describe.
No, look, all right. Look, I think the term ambassador is different to what it used to be. I'll try and say that it's these. I think you nailed it with what you said. Then is you are the face in that way. You are the direction, the connection piece for people to sort of understand the brand and the image and everything with that. I think when you look back at an ambassador, and let's take it back 15, 20 years ago, really the only time we heard that terminology was someone that was an ambassador for a country and in that style of position where they were. Having it now as an ambassador for a brand, you nailed it with what you said. I think there's more and more, we're seeing more and more ambassadors coming out now for different brands because it helps promote the brand, it helps promote the image of what the brand is trying to do, and it helps that connection as well. So it's I think you nailed it with the way you described it. But also it is still a relatively, as you said, relatively new term that I think as an industry we're not coming to terms with, because that's not the right phrase to use, but we are getting used to what it is and understanding it slowly because it's an evolution in itself. We know sort of what it is, but we're still working on what it is as it's coming out.
Exactly.
So,
and like, I guess it's my title, but I wouldn't, I go and I film and I share what I love, and that's really what I do. I go and I try and, spread the love. Yes.
Brilliant. Hey, I've got a couple more questions that I would like to throw at you, and this is where I think some listeners sort of go, "Oh God, he's asking the same question again," or someone like, "Oh, cool, he's finally asked it. Cool, I want to know this." What bit of advice can you give to instructors that are listening who want to improve or look to maybe get into a trainer presenter role or an ambassador role like what you're doing?
I think it's great to have. I think it's really great to have those goals, because it's important to have goals and ambitions, and but have the goal, but I think focus on the journey. Um, so so do the work, whatever that path looks like for you. It might not be the conventional path, but you know, immerse yourself in the industry. Um,
I really
learn
like
as
that.
much as you can.
Have the goal, but
Yeah,
focus on the journey. That's
yeah. I think
that's
it's.
yeah,
I think yeah. I think if you're so focused on the end goal, you know, it kind of people see that,
yeah,
and and I think it's not saying that that's bad at
no,
all. Like we all have goals
yep.
and ambitions, but yeah, I think the journey is super important. So yeah, do the work, focus,
Be here now.
be yeah, focus on the now,
Yeah,
immerse yourself, learn as much as you can. Um, and I know it's been said before, but really try to find your authentic self.
yep,
It's been said a million times, but
yep.
and I'm still finding my feet in that sort of area, because it's hard to kind of like come off the back of absolute legends, you know. So it's hard when you I get this is I'm going into a different topic now, but as someone who's grown up, I'm going to say, watching legends, Sarah, Glenn, Lee, Mark New, like it's hard to then kind of that's what you know,
Yep.
and then you try and stand up on stage and
Yeah.
like it almost feels like they're part of you,
Yep.
but then you have to be your individual
Yeah.
person. So that's really important. So yeah, I would say to people that are wanting to progress their journey within Les Mills, yeah, try to obviously watch the masterclasses, but try to really focus on who you are
Yeah.
um, as a instructor.
Yep. I think it's important to
Yeah.
think you touched on something just then as you're referring to the legends in the industry that you grew up watching. Yeah. I truly appreciate what Les Mills are doing with how they are with you guys as ambassadors because let's be realistic, there will be a time where Glenn, Lisa, Mark, Rach, Dan, everybody that's a head program coach or whatever the role they're called at the moment are not going to be able to be the face of the masterclass filming anymore. And I strongly believe the new faces that are coming through, i.e. you and the part of the team, the other ambassadors that are there, it's the next step, the next era of legends coming through that we as instructors need to see. Yep. Don't get me wrong, we love Glenn. we love Lisa, we love all those guys, but we also realise that there comes a time where they won't want to be on the master classes anymore, or they don't need to be on the master classes anymore. They can be the director, the program coach, the program whatever it may be, whatever the terminology is, to help you guys, to train you guys so that you guys are the next generation. You know, there'll be a time also when you get to that stage where you don't want to do what you're doing anymore. And, you know, let's hope that's many years down the track. But, you know, there's an evolution with each of the programs that have to go through what the programs go through, but also what we're seeing as the face of the programs. Yep. Does that make sense when I say that?
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone has their place, and everyone's place in this industry is super important. Um, all age demographics, all
Yeah.
you know, everything, diversity
Yeah.
is just really important for you know me, the 18-year-old that you know was absolutely hooked on watching the master classes. You know, they're powerful tools. You know, there are people that really you know look up to what they see. So, you know, um, having a range of diversity in all aspects is super important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a millennial, and the Gen Zs are already
Yeah.
they're coming through now in
Yep.
the filming, which is really exciting. Like it's super exciting that it's to see the Gen Z kind of instructors come through. It's really refreshing.
Yep.
and really exciting. So yeah, it's just the way it is.
Yep. No, it's
Yeah.
cool. Dee, thank you so much for coming on the show and having a chat with me. I've greatly appreciated the last hour and a half of your time and chatting to me and sharing your story on how it all began and the times from the beginning that weren't as bright for you through to now, and the amazing stuff that you do for us in our industry. So seriously, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to talk to you and to, chat about all things fitness. It's been great. Thank you.